So, my name is Beth Raps, and I'm the founder of Raising Clarity. And today's interview, the questions are contributed by my soul colleague, Lizzie Sosik. And Lizzie wasn't able to be interviewing me at the same time that I was able to be interviewed. And I just want to thank her and dedicate this maiden voyage to her. This is the first in a series of me being interviewed by people in my network. I call them soul colleagues. So, this series is a casual series, meaning I am dressed casually, and the way you can tell that I'm dressed casually is I'm not wearing any earrings. So, this is meant to increase the sense of intimacy and the sense that you are getting to have a conversation with me and the interviewer in the future about some questions that are of importance to the person interviewing me. I have found that I have some intense blind spots, and I don't know what I know that's important to other people. That's why I'm doing this series. And I think that's true, I'm sure, of a lot of us, because what we know really well. And we may not realize how important it could be to somebody else. First question. Lizzie asked me what got me started at doing the work that I do. And the work I do nowadays, I describe as helping people follow their calling. I started out in my life as a fundraiser and grassroots organizer, more like a grassroots organizer than a fundraiser, but I had to raise the money that we needed to do our organizing for peace and justice. This was in Florida. Hello to anyone watching this that I've known since then. This was in the 1980s. I'm 61. I've been fundraising since my mid-20s, almost 40 years. And I got kind of fascinated with the fact that I could raise money for other people, but I didn't have a whole lot of it, and I didn't know how to hold on to it. So over a number of years, I found money coaching, which is created by Deborah Price, author of the book Money Magic, which I couldn't endorse more. I first just worked the workbook, Money Magic, and then learned to do money coaching as a part of my own training and receiving money coaching, actually from Deborah Price at the Money Coaching Institute in California. And that has helped me so immeasurably. And the impact of that has been so far reaching. I think of the money coaching work as touching on, as healing, not just my relationship with money, but all kinds of flow. So that was pretty interesting. And then I began to, I think, in a way, become more selfish with my time. I'm a recovering workaholic. And when I was in my 20s organizing, I lost all my adrenal function. And I got it all back. I'm a very healthy person. But it made me realize I needed to make choices, even in my 20s, even with gobs of energy, driving all up and down the state of Florida, organizing in my little VW. I needed to understand that I, just like the earth, have a carrying capacity. And I began to really study time and how time would lengthen and slow down, or could be incredibly chaotic and sped up, depending on how I was feeling. And so I became interested in focus. I think I've probably always been a spiritual person, and mindfulness really kind of arrived in my life probably in the 90s with Buddhism, studying Zen Buddhism, just more practicing Zen Buddhism in a very informal way, not a formal way. And I started to notice my mind. And that's just a level that I don't think we can ignore. Other people may do things other ways. Other coaches work at other levels. I work at the level of the mind, the invisible, the intuitive, the emotional, the spiritual. And that's where I'm comfortable. I work at that level because I see the changes in the physical world. And I know, I don't just believe, I know that the physical world depends on that subtle world. So I'm seeking to influence the 3D, the material physical world, at the subtlest level possible, which is also the easiest to change. So when you go to my instant downloads page on my website, you'll see all kinds of very unusual approaches to things. And that's because I'm lazy. I start with the easiest first, and the easiest is the most subtle, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional. Even as hard as our emotions can be, they're a lot easier to change than the physical world. And the minute we change inside, things change outside. It's kind of crazy how that happens. So Lizzie asked me a second question, and that question is about reparations. And if you don't know what reparations is, look it up. Lizzie and I did not meet through reparations, but I was grateful to be on a panel that Lizzie organized around reparations. And she asks how I structure reparations into my life. And I think the simple answer is that I'm always alive to the opportunity to give reparations, make reparations. And where it arises, I have a sort of time budget for it. And so when something arises in my life, I put it in that budget, and I make sure that I don't give away too much, because again, I lost all my adrenal function when I was in my 20s, and I don't intend to do that again. And I'm very careful with my boundaries. And I'm also very clear that giving reparations, making reparations is very important to my life, to my sense of value here on the planet, to what I think is important. And I intend to live in an aligned way. So I do that. I work with individual clients, and I participate in events, and I give money. And I do that as a lifelong commitment that has grown over many years to reparations. How do you balance between abundance mindset and healthy or helpful limits? How do you discern what is useful or needed when? And Lizzie and I have talked about this a lot. I write a lot about it. I think a lot about it. Abundance is something that I want. First of all, I guess I would say it's not a mindset. It's just a reality. There's a constant flow. We're overwhelmed with abundance, right? If we don't just think of abundance as the good stuff, we just think of it as flow, which is really what it means. Abundance is a word that etymologically means like overflowing. Reality is constantly overflowing with information, with people, with sounds, with activity, with thoughts. Our experience, our moment to moment experience, is one of unbelievable abundance, and it's limitless, and we actually have to structure it. Our brains function, our eyes, our senses function by shutting things out as much as by allowing them, probably much more so, the little bit of studying I've done about that. We're filtering things out so that we can pay attention to the things that this physical organism can actually handle. So what I do is build on that. What I do is say, here's what I can handle as a recovering workaholic, as a mother, as a partner, as a worker, as the owner of my own small business. Here's what I can do. And I carve out time in my schedule for the different activities that I want in my life. And it's like I can't control reality and the whole flow, but I can channel this experience into this space. I would say that is the primary way in which I structure abundance. And in answer to the question of how I know what's needed when, I have a really strong felt sense of that. After being a workaholic, I can feel in my heart and in my gut, especially when I feel pressed and pressured. And what I often do is set the thing aside for later. I don't not do it. I sometimes say, no, I'm not going to do it. But basically, you could see my whole schedule as a way of containing, but not trapping, not controlling, but containing streams of water that come into my life, green water, red water, blue water. And I want to have a little space for dealing with each one of them in my own calm, peaceful way, so that I'm not being yanked around by anyone else or on anyone else's schedule, and no one is being yanked around by mine. I don't create emergencies, and I don't allow other people to create emergencies for me. There are genuine emergencies, but usually there aren't. We create them by not thinking ahead far enough. And I think the one thing I want to put in a plug for here is intuition. I have really cultivated my intuition, and you do that just by listening to it. and testing it out and responding to it. And I can assure you, it saves me so much time to pay attention to those small promptings, just like the feeling that I get when I'm stressed and I need to say no to something or I need to do it later. And I have a date book that's like a paper and pen date book. That's my calendar. And I will literally put things down in my calendar for a different date. I schedule things with myself. I schedule work appointments. I say no to meetings on certain dates so that I can get my work done. Because my work includes meetings, but it's not only meetings. So the next question is, talk to me about the dance between future planning and present moment action. So I want to say that there is a big difference between planning for an emergency and kind of obsessing about an emergency, which cannot be planned for, right? The nature of an emergency is you can't plan for it. And planning for the future. Um, I think it's smart to plan for the future. I think it's smart to have savings. I don't see anything wrong with that. So if I feel more peaceful now because I have something set aside for the future, I'm also taking care of myself in the present. If we think about the earth, why would it be a good idea to live as though the earth doesn't have a future and our generations don't have a future? Like, at one level, all time is one. I'm very clear about that. There is no such thing as the present or the future. This is all the time there is. We live on a mountain. It takes us an hour to go one direction to the store. I need to think pretty far ahead about what we're going to eat. I need to make sure to make lists. But I don't have any animus or resistance about those things. In fact, I feel grateful that I can do those things because they allow me to live peacefully right now.